Council Chambers in Wisconsin Rapids on Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. It's 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Let's go around the room quick and introduce ourselves.
I'm Dennis Pollock, Ward 6.
Ryan Austin, District 1.
Paul Vollert, Public Works Superintendent.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Thank you, and with that, call the meeting to order. Item 2 is Review Engineering and Street Department Monthly Activity Report. Which one wants to go first here? Joe or Paul? Paul. Okay.
I'll go.
So the report is attached. Just some highlights. Garbage collection seems to stay relatively consistent through previous years and months. Just this last Tuesday, August 1st, we completed the underground work on Oak Street and completed the restoration from 8th Street to just shy of 12th Street. The contractor is scheduled to come in towards the end of next week to complete the remaining curb and gutter from 12th to 16th. We will be opening that intersection up probably prior to the curb and gutter being done at 16th Street, just for that week or two so that they don't have to continue to go around. Doing some minor grading work there tomorrow to make sure the intersection is safe for travel. Otherwise, street maintenance, we completed our preparation for our chip sealing 2 weeks ago. And then actually our chip sealing operation is taking place this week, with it being completed tomorrow. East of Highway 54, north of the Woodlands Business Park, Washington School area is kind of how we best describe it. Also completed brush pickup again, and completed some track maintenance out at the East Side Commerce site, and did some work for Water and Light on curb and gutter repairs so that we could get some paver patches completed with them, as well as completed catch basins out on Highway 54 from 5th Avenue back towards Wilson Street. There was 8 catch basins there in the inside lane that were pretty rotted out. As far as our painting and our signs go, we have been full staff there now for 3 weeks. And so the crew has started painting throughout the downtown area. You'll see the parking stalls and crosswalks around the school areas have been freshened up. Next week, we're going to start to redo some of our long lines, center line and edge line and things like that on the highways and arterial streets and things like that. So those guys are doing quite well considering it's new to them. We also had to change out the banners for the ski show and the farmers market, and I believe also the Cranberry Blossom Festival parade and things fell during this time period as well. Maintenance wise, we're continuing to do maintenance on our garbage trucks, kind of fighting some of this emission stuff and transmission things, as well as our general fleet maintenance, and then also getting our fleet ready for this week. Our chip sealing, there's some work that we have to do to the trucks in order for them to hook up to the hitches and stuff like that. So now obviously next week when that's over, we'll take all that stuff out and prepare for our regular maintenance work. And that's our activities for the month.
For the engineering department, for under traffic, 3 of the vision issues have been addressed at this point at 14th Street and Avon Street, Meade and 3rd Street, and Sampson and Taylor Avenue. Letters have been sent, and I believe all of the trimming work has been accomplished at this point. With the signal grant that the city received, the contractor that will be starting work on West Grand Avenue, they're still waiting on a temporary controller, which is currently back ordered. They don't have an exact date yet, but they are still planning on beginning in September or October and completing the work yet this fall. In addition, the signal grant at Chase Street and High Street, which was already awarded to the city. We have a contract change order for the design and bidding services for that we'll probably bring to the committee in September for consideration of making those changes and getting that project ready to bid out for 2024. Under maintenance projects, the Patricus Construction is proposed to start sidewalk maintenance on August 21st. And then for 2024 reconstruction projects, we've completed the 14th Avenue and McKinley Street preliminary surveys. And in addition, for future projects, the 1 Mile Creek dredging project, we did hold a public hearing here in the council chambers on July 17th. There were no attendees to that public hearing, but we did, it was recorded on Zoom and published on the DNR's website, and we believe that project is set to be approved in yet this fall from a permitting standpoint, so that we could proceed with scheduling that work. Lastly, at the rail feasibility study, I met with Link Things and TAPCO, which is the equipment supplier, in the month of July, a couple weeks ago, and they are currently putting together a signing and implementation plan along with detailed cost estimates for that project. And that concludes the engineering monthly report.
Thank you. Any questions by anybody? Okay. I should have said when Paul was given here, after he was done with Paul's, that where I've witnessed over the years a number of the chip sealing and that taking place in the city yesterday. I had firsthand look at it because I got a new street in front of my house now, so I got to watch it. I will compliment the guys. They do move along real quickly, and which they have to for that. But it was quite a sight to see firsthand, I guess, and sit there through the whole thing and watch it. So thanks to the crew. And with that, we can go to item number 3, review and consider revisions to the city's banner policy.
So this is my referral to the committee. It's also going through the planning commission because there needs to be some slight changes to the signing code. But currently, the policy is also attached, and in the policy, you'll see things that are highlighted red and or struck through in red. We currently provide community events and like the farmer's market. We hang the banners in the 4 locations at the highway locations, where in the wintertime we hang the happy holiday signs and things like that. Majority of those locations are pretty good wind tunnels, and so the infrastructure that we have in place for hanging the happy holiday signs really isn't adequate for the banners, because the banners, you know, if we get wind, start to whip pretty bad, and they wrap is one of the issues. And then the other issue is that they're sometimes just hard to read because they're 25 feet up in the air, and you can't see them until they're, you know, you're right on top of them, and so then you're also looking up, and part of me thinks that we may be kind of creating this possible safety issue if somebody tries to stop in front of them. So one of the things that we talked about as a group is that we now have the Welcome to Wisconsin Rapids signs in 3 locations, you know, on Highway 54 at Spring Street, 2nd Avenue down by the Bulls Creek Boat Landing, and then out on Highway 34, that we have city property by that we could possibly put them on at ground level so that they're, you know, at normal sight range and things like that. And then working with the Kyle Kearns, we could possibly come up with a location at A Street. But for right now, I'm just proposing to use 4 ground locations, and we would put some infrastructure in there so that it's relatively quick to go out and put the banners in. You know, it's not that anybody can go and put the banners in these locations. They have to come to our department, take out a permit, pay a fee, and there only would be one banner put in that location at a time. It wouldn't be multiple banners, it wouldn't be all over the place. It would strictly be the same situation that we have right now, where it's only one banner hanging. We also addressed that it could only be hanging for 3 weeks at a time, a maximum of 3 weeks, if there was no other organization that was requesting it. To me, this is going to, you know, these can be time consuming for our staff, because sometimes it takes 2 of our bucket trucks in some of the locations to put them up. And then 2 or 3 days later, we gotta go out there and untwist them and everything like that. To me, this is a cheaper alternative, because it'll be something that we can put up quicker in the future. We can also go and replace the poles, put more tension on the cables that are going across and things like that. But that would, with working with Water and Light, it could be $4,000 to $5,000. I believe I put in there per location. So it could be anywhere from $16,000 to $20,000. They work perfectly fine for our Happy Holiday symbols, because it's nothing but, you know, steel frame and lights hanging up there, so the wind goes through there just fine. When you get these banners up there, it's just a parasail, even though they have the required wind slots and like everything like that in it. So, like I say, this is also going before the Planning Commission, so even though we may adopt the changes here, the Planning Commission may choose not to allow it to happen. But it's kind of not necessarily the cart before the horse, but to get them both done in the month of August, this was the direction that we were told to come with, so.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments? Ryan?
Paul, you got a cost for improving the banner locations. Do you have an approximate cost to what it would be to install the ground signage infrastructure?
So what we're proposing to do is to simply put a 3-inch conduit, you know, vertical in the ground, and put a screw-in sewer cap on it. So we'd probably have less than $300 in each location to put that in place.
Okay. When this was brought up to put on the agenda, I thought we did something with this before, I think, but it must have been, I think, the planning. Did they go over this before, Paul?
No, we did have it on the agenda last month, and then during the review of it, it was thought to be wrong to bring it here first, and so then over the last month is when
Okay.
we had the discussion and came up with the proper steps to put it in place, so.
Okay, thank you. Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question on that $16,000 to $20,000. That money, is the money there somewhere that you can pull it from? Does it have to be budgeted somewhere, or?
It would be included in the '24 budget.
Okay,
It's not anything that we have set aside right now,
right,
so it would be included in the '24 budget.
okay, thank you.
Anything else, committee? Ryan again, go ahead.
Well, I can speak from experience. The banner on 54 there by Spring Street, I've seen multiple times the thing just twirling around or flying around, and it really makes it hard to even read. So I'm in favor of going to ground signs, so I'll make a motion that we move the banners from overhead to ground locations.
Have a motion and a second. Committee, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 4, review and consider a resolution approving the North Central Wisconsin Stormwater Coalition Cooperative Agreement for 2024 to 2028.
So the agreement and draft resolution are included in the packet, but just a quick background on it. The City of Wisconsin Rapids is a member of the North Central Wisconsin Stormwater Coalition. City's been a member since it began, somewhere around 2008 or 2009, I believe. And there's 12 other communities in the central Wisconsin River watershed area, as well as Marathon County and University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. And the primary objective of the coalition is to develop and implement a single information and outreach program to increase awareness of stormwater impacts on waters of the state without duplicating efforts and creating cost savings for the communities. These efforts by the Stormwater Coalition help us meet the requirements that are outlined in the Wisconsin DNR's stormwater discharge permit. We definitely do utilize on an annual basis the efforts from this coalition and supply that information to the DNR with our annual report. The current cooperative agreement is set to expire January 31st of 2024. And as I had mentioned, the new agreement and draft resolution is included in the packet, and the action that we'd be requesting of the committee would be to approve the proposed cooperative agreement by resolution.
Thank you. Again, any questions, discussion, or, Brian, go ahead.
Joe, I don't see any costs associated with this. I assume that there's no cost to the city for this agreement?
For the agreement, no, there isn't specific to the agreement. However, there is an annual charge or fee that each of the communities does contribute to the efforts of the education and awareness program, and I think it's around $3,000 each year. The group sets the amount, and I think it's been pretty consistent, and it's something we budget for and include in our budgets that are reviewed and annually. So.
Okay, anybody else? If there's nothing, I'll turn it over to the committee. What are your wishes?
I'll move to approve the Stormwater Coalition, the proposal.
I'll second that. Committee, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 5, review and consider approval of the 2024 to 2028 capital improvement plan.
So I provided a revised draft of the 5-year CIP along with project summaries specific to the projects coming up for this next construction season in 2024. Not much has changed since a couple months ago when we presented the list, but I will run through and highlight by year each of the years and the major projects that are identified. I just need to grab my notes here. So for 2024, the highlights, we have 9th Street South between Peach Street and Chestnut Street. We also have Lincoln Street from East Riverview Expressway up towards East Grand Avenue, along with Wiley Street, which is it's a street runs parallel with Baker Street, 1 block to the north. So Wiley Street from 8th Street. We had it originally proposed going just 2 blocks, 8th Street to 10th Street, but upon further review, we're extending that 2 more blocks up to 12th Street. And then in addition, there's a couple parking lots that were added since the last time, a couple months ago when we reviewed the document. Additionally, there's a West Side Interceptor project, sewer lining project that is being, I guess, planned at this point. There's a consultant involved with putting together a facility plan for that. So we're not exactly sure at this point when that's going to be programmed, because there's Clean Water Fund money that's being pursued as part of that project. But it's tentatively in there for construction season 2024. I guess if there's any questions as we go along, feel free to ask as we go. Otherwise, I'll move on to 2025. Few highlights in 2025 include some west side projects on McKinley Street between 14th Avenue North and 8th Avenue North, as well as 14th Avenue North between West Grand Avenue and Fremont Street. And then the latest addition is the East Jackson Street project from the Jackson Street Bridge to East Grand Avenue. For 2026, continuation of reconstruction projects on the west side of the city on 13th Avenue North between West Grand Avenue and the north termini limits. In addition, we're proposing multi-block project, I believe it's a 4 or 5 block project on 2nd Street North between Spring Street and Pleasant View Drive. And then as we get into 2027 and 2028, you can see in the spreadsheet here that the list is a little bit longer, and as we get a little bit further out in the 5 years, it's a little less refined on an absolute list of projects, but couple west side projects, continuation on 15th Avenue and 16th Avenue. And then we have Riverview Drive, First Street North to Spring Street, and then a couple block project on Edgewood Place between Redden Road and State Trunk Highway 34. And then 2028, we have the 8th Street, Lakewood Lane to Whitrock DOT project programmed in. There's always a slight chance that might get moved up, but otherwise it's in there at calendar year 2028. We're also looking at 2nd Street South around that time frame as well, between Birch Street and Mead Street, right along the East River bank. We also have Lion Street between 13th Avenue South and Bowles Street. And then considering Baker Street between 8th Street North and 18th Street North. So those are some of the highlights from the capital reconstruction projects. In addition to the reconstruction projects, there's also an addition of a pavement replacement plan for the same 5-year time frame that Paul will go over and introduce to the committee.
So on the back of the handout then is the streets that we originally identified as part of our pavement replacement plan. Just showing the 3 streets that we are doing this year, And then, in 2024, we're looking at doing a pulverize and repave out on 20th Street from Griffith Avenue up to 2 Mile Avenue. And with that, would be doing, making the pavement structure a little bit wider so that there's a paved shoulder for pedestrian and bike traffic. Also then Birch Street from Lincoln Street over to First Street. It's virtually a 4-block section, and 2 of those blocks, I believe, are probably the original highway underneath it, where there's concrete underneath the asphalt, and it's a very poor condition. So we'll be looking at kind of pavement removal in those 2 areas, and then a mill in that 2-block section in the center, and then repave. And then also 13th Street South from Chestnut to Daly Avenue. So that would be from Daly up to Chestnut Street on the east side of St. Vincent's de Paul. And then also East G then from that location to 16th Street. Both of those areas have been cut up quite badly because of utility trenches and things like that. And so trying to make a decent pavement out of those areas there. Then in 2025, we're looking at kind of coinciding with the East Jackson Street project of redoing 3rd Street from Jackson to Grand. And then also from Grand Avenue all the way down to, what did I put here? To the expressway, which would probably actually stop at the patch that we put in there about 3 years ago on Dewey Street. It would not go all the way to the expressway, it would stop at that patch there. And then also adding Drake Street from First to Washington going up the hill. Most of these pavements would all be mill and overlays. Again, it's different patches that are in there from utilities going across and then new utilities being run into the property. Just trying to get a decent ride quality out of it again because it's just all over the place. Then in 2026, coming to the west side, doing Park Avenue off of 2nd Avenue, and then 13th, these 3 kind of all coincide with each other. Park Avenue, 13th Avenue South, and Bull Street, that pavement is pretty much failed. We have put an overlay in some of those sections already just about 5 years ago to buy us some time. And then 22nd Avenue in between the apartment complexes there. I believe that there's probably some muck underneath the street and it's just all over the place, and limited drainage there, as well as Wickham. You know, that pavement is also falling apart. And then 13th Avenue and 12th Avenue must kind of just be to the east side of St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and then 12th Avenue is along the Vulcan Chemical, I believe. There we have a bunch of curb and gutter that has failed and doesn't drain, and so we would replace that curb and gutter along the west side of the road, and then again, some of it would be complete pavement replacement, and then the other half of the road would be a mill and replace. Then kind of the same thing, you know, we're getting out a ways, but other streets that have been identified, 17th Ave or 17th Street North from Baker up to Apricot, and then 18th Street North from Baker to Apricot, and then Apricot along the south side of the park, and then Washington Street from the intersection of 32nd Street out to the city limits. Again, that's a narrow street, and there's some pretty big holes that have formed over the time, and it's just starting to dry out. We also then have identified Airport Avenue from 8th Street to First Street, kind of broke that up into 2 projects. If we need to, you know, with today's dollars, we can get it all done, but 4 years from now, who knows what the dollar value is gonna be, so we might have to split those up into pieces, as well as 16th Street in front of the high school, down there. You'll see on the bottom of the list that there's other streets that have been identified. that are going to require some coordination with like the town of Grand Rapids. And that's 16th Street South. Majority of that project is the townships project. That was identified by the previous street superintendent, but he's since retired here in the last month, and so there may be a change in priority with the new person. But then also like 2 Mile Avenue from A Street to the airport has been identified by both us and the township, but we're working with the airport there to make sure that they don't have any further improvements, you know, in the plan, so that we don't rebuild the road and then they come up with something and drive over our brand-new street. So we're working there. As well as some streets that were identified that the water utility would like to replace their water main. So those projects would kind of be like hybrid projects, where similar to what was done on Pepper Avenue, 5-6 years ago, where the water utility does half the road and then we take care of the other half of the road type thing. So kind of a same thing, a moving plan, but you'll see in 2024, and I am not quite done with 25, but been working to have those identified well with how much of our city labor would be included in that for our budgeting purposes, you know, coming forward here in August. So
Okay. Comments by anybody, questions, anything? Thank you for the information. I'll just say that we were thinking about having a tour of these things originally, and with vacations and whatnot, that didn't come off, but I guess when we talk about it for our next meeting date and that type of stuff, we can discuss about still having one yet. I think the information that by seeing it firsthand would be valuable, so. Let's see. Committee, I'll turn it back to us. Is there any questions, or what would your wishes be to do? I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
A motion is second to approve the 2024 to 2028 capital improvement plan. Committee, if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 6, review and reconsider parking on the north side of Baker Street between 5th Street North and 8th Street North. I don't know, Joe, do you have something first, or I can, so.
Just to mention that this originally came before the Public Works Committee just over a year ago, I guess. And it was approved to add parking at that time. No pavement markings have been installed at this point yet, largely due to supply issues last fall and this spring, and then the backlog of work. But in the interim timeframe, it appears that maybe there's some potentially some reconsideration of this ordinance change. And so I guess that's where it's at this point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I'll just, I guess to start with here is that there has been, like, some comments, and I guess not a lot, but a few of, negative, I guess, of what parking there along there could be on that street and on that hill stretch. So that's where we are. Committee, anybody else have anybody have any comments? So, Dennis?
Well, I originally voted for it, but I don't know, with that bike trail going through there and I'm in the parking, I just don't think it just doesn't make much sense. And we voted on it a year ago, and there still isn't any parking there. So if you're looking for any type of a motion, I would vote to rescind, I guess, the action we took and revert it back to the way it originally was, with no parking on that particular side of Baker Street.
I'll second that. Committee then, further discussion? Uh,
I'd like to hear
Okay.
Mr. Eichsted's thoughts on this.
Well, I guess since it was, parking was removed, or parking was allowed, we haven't had any requests over the past year. Wondering when the signage and pavement marking would be in place. So I guess there's that. And then also just, to continue with bike lanes and the parking lanes, I guess just to add that, it's a tight squeeze to fit it all in there. I think it could be done, but I guess those are my two comments.
Thank you.
Paul, would you have anything to add?
Nothing really, no. I mean, it wasn't anything that was intentionally not completed. We did run out of paint last year, and there was lots of stuff that didn't get done, and then obviously with the shortage of staff this spring, it didn't get done. So, it is one of the things where that area, and it may be something that we do in the future when we do referrals like this, but that curb has been painted yellow, and so it is something that also would have to be sandblasted off or painted gray. That's a temporary thing, because we have painted gray curb or curb gray in the past where we've made mistakes, and it does eventually come through. But it is not something that we have or had budgeted, last year to do, and it would be an added expense this year as well. So we would obviously, if it's the committee's wishes to do it, we would figure out a way to get it done. It would just cut into some of our other materials purchased or whatever, so.
Anybody else? Ryan, did you have one or not? Okay. Dennis? No. Or me? Okay. Hearing none, turn it to the committee for a vote. All in favor of rescinding that parking ordinance, respond by aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion, or the ruling is 2-1 in favor. And that, of course, as the rest of these, will be going to the council in a couple weeks, so. Thank you. Number 6, review and reconsider adding parking on the north side of Baker, Number 7, review and consider allowing parking on the south side of Oak Street between 7th Street South and 8th Street South. Joe, I think you have a little info for us.
Yeah, so currently, parking is not allowed on the south side of Oak Street on this block. The north side is authorized vehicle parking only for the buses, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on school days. Of course, this is directly south of Howe Elementary School. It originated as a request from the school, and it came through the police department to the engineering department. And so the police department is aware of the requests, and they're okay with it. I don't have any issues with the approving or allowing parking at this location. We just restrict it so that it's we allow it up so far up to the A Street intersection. But otherwise, the options that are available could either keep the ordinance the way it is and maintain parking restrictions, or repeal the ordinance and remove them and open it up to parking.
And just to clarify, that would be open parking, I guess, not a 2-hour limit or anything, just be open parking, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Comments or questions or anything? Dennis, go ahead.
Well, did you ever do any discussion like maybe just having time parking just during school hours and then open it up in the evening, or, I mean, was there any discussion that way, or?
Well, I believe the intent is so that some of the school personnel are able to use it.
I follow you, okay.
But yeah, I guess there's always a trade-off there that could generate some other complaints as well, but I believe that's why they're asking for it.
Okay, thank you.
You know, Joe, and just comes to mind, I guess, is that for the personnel to use at the park there, how much opening is in the parking lot that's across the street by Emmanuel Lutheran there that the people use now? I'm not against the parking, but it's just, you know, if it's gonna be on a daily basis of possibly, I guess, of you know, being with a few cars, if that's where some staff would wanna use it,
Yeah,
it
I
would
believe.
block it off for, you know, it'd block it off for anybody else that was there to visit or anything, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe there is additional room in that parking lot, but I don't know what sort of arrangement the school has with the church there to utilize that parking lot, but I guess, you know, there are no driveways on that side, on the south side of Oak Street there. So there's an advantage there that, you know, we don't have the conflicts with, you know, those residential properties trying to get out onto Oak Street. The one downside would be is if it's not used by school personnel during the school days, that if parents were to try to use that for pickup and drop off, but knowing that it's their request is to use it for school personnel, it's likely going to be, you know, utilized, and parents won't be, I guess, trying to utilize that side of the street.
Would that be so marked, I guess, for
Just for,
staff using, so people knew, or?
I'm just trying to think if it could be signed that way. Let's see.
Yeah, and I understand, you know, about don't want it to be used for, parents to use that for a pickup on that side of the road where kids would have to cross the street too, so.
I was just gonna look up in the code here real quick, just to see what other sections, like authorized vehicle parking only.
Ryan?
Just to comment on that, I don't think I'd want to exclude the property owners, the adjacent property owners from that option either.
Sure. Yeah, there is a section for parking prohibited during certain periods except for authorized vehicles. Yeah, that's probably the only other section that would apply if it were further restricted.
Ryan?
I'll make a motion to repeal the ordinance and remove parking restrictions on the south side of Oak Street from 7th to 8th.
Well, I guess I'm not against the parking in there, but I was thinking, if you take 11th Street where by Emmanuel there from Oak going north, they don't park on the east side of that street. It's been that way quite a while, so I think their problem is probably with the students again, you know. So I don't know, just not really sure where I'm gonna go with this one, Tom.
Well, to further discussion, I guess, that it's, there's been a motion to deny, I will, or to, Ryan, would you restate that again, so I say it right?
Yep, motion to repeal the ordinance and remove parking restrictions on the south side of Oak Street
There,
from
to
Seventh.
to remove the restrictions. I will, second that to further the discussion, as we have a discussion, I may vote against it, so. So there's a motion on the floor. Anybody else? Joe?
I guess just to provide a little bit of clarification on the, Mr. Pollock's statement on 11th Street by Emmanuel. There are, I guess the differences between the two locations, there are several driveways. Looks to be about 5 driveways on the opposing side. In addition, they have angle parking in front of the school, and so those vehicles would be backing out towards the opposite side of the street, whereas in front of House School, there is parallel drop-off, pickup adjacent to the school on the north side of Oak Street, but no angle parking or anything where vehicles are backing up towards the opposite side of the street. So that may be a distinction that at least I thought worth pointing out.
Committee, anybody else have comments or anything? I, am gonna vote in favor of, removing the restrictions. And I guess between now and our council meeting, if, people come forward with anything or at the council meeting, or, if it proves that it doesn't work, something can be revisited, so. I'm gonna vote in favor of the motion. Anybody else? Hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor of rescinding the parking restrictions between 7th and 8th on Oak Street, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion, or that verdict, ruling is 2-1 in favor of removing the restrictions. Thank you. Item number 8, review the referral list. Okay. Got so many papers here. There we go. Whoops. Okay, yeah. Almost thought I skipped an item.
I feel like item 2 has been accomplished.
Okay, so to remove it, you're okay with that? And just so I guess the viewing public knows, it's a request by Alderperson Austin to consider a feasibility study for reducing noise and vehicle delays due to railroad tracks along the west side of the city at and between crossing from Gaynor Avenue to High Street. Okay. Anything else? I guess, number 7, and that's the parking on, Baker Street between 5th and 8th that we just took action on, that at the present can be removed. If that's okay with the committee, it has to go to the council. I think that's all that we have there. So if that's okay, those 2 items we remove. And with that, as I set our next meeting date to set that, the regular one would be on the, I believe, Thursday, September 7th at 5 p.m. If that's okay with everybody, we'll do that. And as I stated with the capital improvement plan there, that it's still being worked on and having some type of a tour of that, if we can work it out. It'd be a it'd just be an informational meeting, it wouldn't be, or get-together, so, but I think it'd be beneficial if we could, so we're trying to set it up. Talking with Joe, I think the other day, I think we talked about like possibly next week, Wednesday. I don't know if he has further comments on that, or how that would work for people.
Yeah, that date and time works for me. And, so I guess it's up to the committee if that works or if a different date or time works. I guess in either case, if there is a meeting next week, we could get the agenda out tomorrow.
Committee interested? I would be.
I'm available.
Okay. Why don't we set that up, so Joe can post it? Joe, what time would you like to start? I mean, Ryan, when can you make it, I guess?
Anywhere from 4 to 5, I should be available, PM.
Okay. It'd be, next, no,
Yeah,
it'd be Wednesday,
next week, Wednesday?
next week Wednesday, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. It'd be, I guess we can start from 4 to 5. When, at 4 o'clock, Ryan, if you can make that, that would be, why don't we start at 4?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put down for 4 o'clock. Okay, 4 o'clock, Joe will get the notice out tomorrow. I guess if something comes up, we'll let everybody know, but, again, it'd be a open meeting that, that other people, all the persons or, people in the community could, tag along, but we'll only have Joe, can you get a van for us that,
Yep, I'll arrange the vehicle and,
that we'll have, yeah,
can all ride together if we'd like, and, I guess if there is anybody from the public there, we can try to arrange a sequence of which projects we'll go to, and that way others can attend as well.
okay. And, we actually had one yesterday that I went to with, the Historical Preservation Committee, where they toured the different, locations, and they had a couple vans that were used, because I thought I was gonna have to leave early. It didn't, but I tagged along in my own car just to see it too, so, if people wanna come along, I think they can do that. We just, try and stay together as much as we can, obey the stop signs and that type of stuff, so. And if there's nothing else, committee, we're down to number 10, and that's to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is second to adjourn. Committee, all in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. That's the end of the meeting with that, and it's 5:55 PM approximately. Thank you.